Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows from the world transfer market window and mill in one sexy place. Joining me today on the table is Christopher Hamill. Christopher, who is our first winner?
Oh, mate, you're going to have to bear with me. Not had much sleep. I think I've still got a bit of croissant on my face. But we go again. Joseph. Manchester City are our first winners this week.
City.
Let's do their transfer dealings in a linear fashion.
Linearly.
Okay, so Alexander Kolarov, he's moving to Roma this weekend for £4.4 million. A good deal for all those involved. He's been a good servant, offered a lot of tactical flexibility to Pep Guardiola last season. Could play left back, could play right back, could play centre back, even played centre mid on occasions. A utility man.
Yes.
Much like myself, jack of all trades, master of none. But yes, I think Pep probably would have wanted to keep hold of him, but he couldn't promise him minutes. And as I say, he's been a good servant for Manchester City, so they let him go to Roma, who I think will get a good use out of him in the last 2 or 3 years of his career. But in comes Danilo from Real Madrid as his replacement for £26.5 million. He made around 26 starts for Zinedine Zidane's men last season. So in and out of the team, wasn't essential to Los Blancos, but looks a good acquisition nonetheless, obviously very impressive in his Porto days. Now Mendy, more importantly, because this is a signing that we're all excited about, looks to have secured his move, a £52 million move from Monaco. Apparently he did his medical in LA yesterday. Very excited to see him in the Prem. He becomes the world's most expensive defender of all time, overtaking Kyle Walker, who spent all of 5 seconds there. Now, this takes Manchester City's total summer spend to £210 million already.
Wow.
Mate, that is like you and a Jack the Rippers. And that includes Danilo, Walker, Luiz, who is from the Brazilian League. Don't know much about him. You tell us in the comments below. Edison, Silva, and obviously Benjamin Mendy. Now, Manchester City have now spent £310 million alone on defenders and goalkeepers, Joseph.
And that's just since 2014-15.
It is. Take over.
Unbelievable scenes. Bravo, of course, coming in for about 16 million. Stones, 47 million. Mangala, 42 million. Otamendi, 31 million. To name just a few. And I'm pretty sure that Pep will be hoping that Mendy outperforms all of the above. Obviously, a massive, massive upgrade on the released Gael Clichy, and signs a £100,000 a week contract, which actually isn't too bad in the current market. Let's have a little look at Mendy versus Clichy, because both of them played 25 games last season. So similar minutes on the pitch. Per 90, Mendy's creating 1.1 chances to Clichy's 0.6. He's making 1.7 tackles to Clichy's 1.4. And most impressively, he's making 1.6 successful take-ons for a left back, which is madness. Bearing in mind, Clichy made just 0.3 last season. I also think Danilo is a really smart move. Comes in as lightly cover. He's not a starter for me in that Man City team with Mendy
for 27 million.
Can play at right back and can play at left back, and he's far more defensively minded than both, winning 2.8 tackles and making 2.24 interceptions per 90. Much better than Kyle Walker, 1.76 and 1.2, and Mendy 1.75 and 1.2. So if you're looking for defensive output, Danilo's your man. If you're looking for attacking output, Mendy and Walker are your players. There's also the option Danilo offers that I kind of think Guardiola might play him as a defensive midfielder, but we're not too sure on that yet. We have to wait to see in the pre-season and at the start of the season. But what do you think of Man City's transfer dealings? In my book, they've had the best window of any Premier League team so far. What do you think?
Interesting. I'll be inclined to agree because my mind is absent.
But yeah, vote in the poll. Go, go, go.
Our first losers this week are Real Madrid, and Zinedine Zidane is not a happy Frenchman after saying that his squad is now one striker short following the sale of Morata.
Yeah, and he's not the only player that left, of course, this weekend, like we've already spoke about. Danilo went out of the door as well. They join James Rodriguez, Pepe, and Fabio Contrao on the club's out list this summer. And the in list is looking pretty short. Theo Hernandez and Dani Ceballos already through the door, 2 brilliant signings. But they're surely going to have to move for another striker. Like Zidane said, they are one short. And like he also said, the squad is weaker than when he started the summer, which is an interesting quote, I think. Despite the fact he signed these 2 young, exciting players, he clearly wants more from Florentino Perez. They have more than doubled their money on Morata, of course, bringing him back from Juventus for £30 million and selling him on for about, well, fees are rumoured to be between £50 million, £58 million and £70 million. So nobody's quite sure. In my mind, it's a dodgy deal though to sell Morata because it could come back to bite them on the bum, couldn't it, Hamster?
I mean, it's an odd one because he was their second top goal scorer, wasn't he, last season with 20 goals in all competitions, had a better minutes to goal ratio than Ronaldo, outscored Benzema when he played 500 minutes fewer. And Real Madrid don't have to conduct savvy business. They don't have to double, triple their money on someone like Morata because they're almost too big a club to fail in that regard. They're more about the pursuit of trophies, aren't they? About dominating the silverware. So slightly puzzling. Obviously they couldn't guarantee him game time, but Ronaldo 33 at the end of the season, Benzema 30.
Yeah,
they definitely need to plug that gap, don't they? That 20 to 25 goal gap now that Morata has gone. Either Asensio and Isco step up in terms of goal scoring contribution, or they need to sign another player who's going to have the same sort of impact, and no doubt they'll be paying the same sort of money. Do any names spring to mind for you?
Well, clearly Mbappe springs straight to mind. They've made just over £100 million, haven't they, in sales so far this summer, and we know that Mbappe would probably cost in the region of 100 to 120. So could that be a little correlation there? I think personally not. I think he's probably going to sign a new contract at Monaco that will see him earn a lot more but have a buyout clause in the future. I think he'll probably go next season, Mbappe. More interestingly, I wonder whether he might make a move for someone like Eden Hazard. I don't know whether Gareth Bale can guarantee you minutes. I think Asensio is an extremely exciting player, but I think Eden Hazard could potentially be the man for Real Madrid. Whether or not he would leave Chelsea and whether or not Real Madrid can sign him remains to be seen, but who do you guys think would be a good signing to replace Alvaro Morata and the 20 to 25 goals that will be missing from Real Madrid's squad? Let us know in the comments below who the striker or winger is.
Anthony Stokes.
Our next winner was going to be PSG, but then they it all up and now they're in the losers category. Christopher Hamill, why are they in the losers?
Question marks over us jumping the gun here.
Yeah, big time.
We wrote the script, thought Sanchez and Neymar looked likely to go to PSG, but it turns out Neymar going nowhere. Gerard Piqué confirmed that on his Twitter in the early hours of last night, and he's apparently the Brazilian set to sign the biggest contract in history, according to Catalan press. But in my opinion, there's no way anyone has ever put on more money than Lionel Messi. Must be a clause in his contract, a la Roy Keane in his Man United days.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's no need to go into Neymar's stats, at least according to my script. As he's a bona fide world-class player. He got 20 goals and 19 assists in all competitions last season, despite not having his best season the season before. The kid absolutely slayed it. Last season, Barcelona struggled in every area of the pitch, more so than the season before. Still finished second, didn't they? So.
Well, if you want to know more about our opinions on Neymar anyway, go and check out Continental Club on Eurofootball. Did a big old section over there, didn't we?
That is true. Why don't we just jump over to Sanchez?
Yeah, let's just jump over to Sanchez. More interestingly, I would say Le Parisien claim that he could well be on the way to PSG. His representatives reportedly agreeing a £500,000 a week contract with the Parisians. However, this is coming from Julien Laurent, who is a French expert, of course, writes for the likes of The Guardian. The biggest problem here is that PSG have reportedly had a first offer of £35 million, which is a long way off Arsenal's asking price of £80 million, which also seems a shed load when the player has just 1 year left on his deal. Arsenal's stance of not selling players hasn't changed despite the offers of exchanges and cash as well. There's also rumours that the likes of Matuidi or Lucas have been offered to the Gunners. Those reports come out of France. But you'd have to say, if he is going to go anywhere, it now seems likely to be PSG. Man City have bought in Bernardo Silva. Bayern Munich have ruled out any move for Sanchez at all. Where else is going to pay him that much money? Only PSG can afford
Juventus aren't going to pay those wages, are they? They pay the transfer fee, but they get away with paying their players exceptionally competitive rates.
They do. And I kind of wonder whether Sanchez is the backup to Neymar here. If the Neymar move falls through, whether they bring Sanchez in as another option.
Both doesn't make sense, does it?
Both doesn't really make much sense.
When they've got a 50-goal striker in Cavani.
Exactly, and when you're going to be paying one of them, i.e. Sanchez, $500,000 a week, it seems mad money. So Sanchez could well yet join if PSG stump up the asking price, but Neymar, for now, is going nowhere.
C'est pas bon. Next on our losers list is Manchester United, and that's because they've had a £40 million bid rejected for Eric Dyer. A £50 million bid has been lodged, apparently, for Matic, and they can't close Perisic. Bit of a rough week, although, you know, after Lukaku.
Yeah, it was always going to be downhill, wasn't it? It was always going to be downhill from signing such an exciting player. Obviously, they've got that deal for Lukaku and for Victor Lindelof over the line. The other two players that Mourinho wanted, very clearly a defensive midfielder and very clearly another forward option to score more goals, one of United's biggest problem areas last season. Now, Eric Dyer, interestingly, Mourinho's #1 target is very, very clear. Three bids rejected, according to The Guardian.
I think he's bang average.
The latest reported to be £40 million. Obviously a very versatile player. Whether or not he's at a £50 million calibre remains to be seen. One £50 million man, though, is Nemanja Matic. That's if you're Roman Abramovich anyway. Because for me, it's an odd one. Just a few weeks ago, United apparently agreed a £35 million deal. Then Lukaku happened. And now Abramovich has slapped a £15 million Lukaku tax on top of it, if you believe the British press, which wouldn't surprise me overly. And at £50 million, it finally seems that Abramovich has given the go-ahead for the deal, which is a ton of money. £50 million for Nemanja Matic. What do you make of it, Hamster?
I mean, yeah, you got to expect to pay a premium when you're buying players from your direct rivals.
Yeah.
But should the two deals for Matic and Perisic both go through, United are going to spend north of £100 million on two players who turn 30 within the next 2 years.
Yes, a lot of money. A lot of money.
Now, as you say, Abramovich has given the go-ahead for Matic, and he was left out of their pre-season tour, and he will play second choice next season if he does stay to Bakayoko anyway, so his head may have been turned. Now, Inter are holding out for £48 million plus for Perisic's signature, and Spalletti has admitted he can leave for that money. I'm not surprised, because although I think he's a good player, stars for Croatia, thought he was good at the Euros, 48 million quid.
Be a good signing, good little squad filler, but Tony Martial,
is that the going rate for a squad filler?
Probably not, it's a little bit much.
Anyway, so the ball is seemingly in United's court, people taking advantage of the fact they're a financial and commercial behemoth, and why not, you know? If you don't ask, you don't get, do you, Joseph? But would you pay £100 million for Matic and Perisic?
No.
Let us know in the comments below.
Our next winners, debatably, like PSG, are West Ham. Now, it depends what side of the fence you're on here. Arnautovic, £25 million. Oh, that stinks of Andre Ayew last season. And Chicharito for a more respectable £16 million. Not the worst signing, although it is now 29, I believe. Yeah. Which is quite old for a £16 million striker when you could have got Kelechi for £25 million. But let's not dwell on that point. The other signings, of course, Joe Hart comes in. Zabaleta on a free transfer. That's 4 starters before the start of August. But what you would have to say is that resale-wise, it's an absolute shambles. I mean, you look at these players, over the last few seasons, their recruitment has been disgraceful. 31 strikers signed since 2010. 20 of them have scored 3 or less goals for the club. I don't even want to get into the likes of Piquionne, because they're absolutely shambolic. So what do you make of these ones, Hamster?
I mean, in West Ham's defence, they do try to sign other players, don't they?
Yeah,
a lot of other players. They do put in audacious bids. They do go for the right sort of player on occasions, but they don't really pull it off very often.
They never pull it off.
They always end up with quantity over quality. Look at Slavan Bilic's summer last season where he signed 10 plus players. I think there's only 2 or 3 starters in there. Lanzini wasn't bad business. Ogbonna maybe, if I'm being generous.
Faguli, Zaza.
But I wouldn't worry about these players not having a great resale value, because not many people buy from West Ham anyway, do they? Tend to be career enders. Let's have a look at Arnautovic's figures from last season, because I mean, although he's cost 25 and Chikarito's cost 16, a Premier League goal is now worth 2 million according to the nerds.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, so Arnautovic needs to score 12, which I would believe would be his best Premier League season. And Chikarito needs to score 8, which is more than capable of doing. Yeah, so as you say, might not be the worst business even if the transfer fees are slightly flattering. Now, Arnautovic was averaging 2 shots a game last season, 1.6 key passes and almost 2 dribbles per game, which led to 6 goals and 5 assists.
Average
Not bad output for an AMC at Stoke. Their top goal scorer is probably John Walters, mate.
Yeah, I know, but come on.
Maybe we should give the old pound shop Ibrahimovic a little bit of a break. Now, obviously, Chicharito is a slightly more tantalising prospect of the two. He found the net 11 times in 26 appearances for a lacklustre Bayer Leverkusen last season. They struggled, didn't they? Roger Schmidt got the sack. They slipped down the league after finishing 3rd the year before. I think he got 17 the season before in around 31 games.
He did.
So he had an incredible debut season in Germany. But as we know from his days at Manchester United, poor link-up play, doesn't offer much rather than those predatory instincts in the box. But they might be enough for West Ham, eh?
There was a radar on Ted Knutsen's profile that showed up he was averaging 0.00 through balls per 90.
I mean, he is the last man. Who's he going to be passing to? He can't pass further than 10 yards anyway. But is it enough for Manchester United? Manchester United? That's who he used to play for. Is it enough for West Ham to be challenging for a Europa League spot and maybe put a cup run together? Good luck next season, you Irons.
Ugly.
Last but not least, we have Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's move to China, which Bill have said is nailed on.
Yes.
Recently. Note the nerves in Joe's voice because we're on take 6. Is he going? Is he staying? Will he go somewhere else? You let me know.
Oh, who gives a about Aubameyang anymore? Honestly, 17 million euro fee has been agreed. That's if you believe Bild. They also claim that a 20 million euro contract has been signed. That's per season. This is a big back page spread for them, an exclusive. But the BVB are having none of it. They say there's been no contact with a club regarding Aubameyang, and no club has ever talked about a move in the winter. Peter Bosz also coming out publicly to stamp it out, saying he's spoken to Zorc and it's all utter nonsense. However, Dortmund have said that they are going to sell him, or are willing to sell him, in a certain time period, if it allows them to get a replacement in, you'd think.
I imagine that certain time period will be as soon as possible.
Yes.
If they were to lose a striker of his calibre, someone who scores 30 plus goals in the Bundesliga, especially when they're finishing 3rd, it could be catastrophic scenes for BVB. RB Leipzig have strengthened. They've signed Augustin from PSG. The Bavarians have brought in the likes of Tolisso, James Rodriguez, so on and so forth. So this would be a huge, huge loss for Dortmund anyway. If he was going to go anywhere but China, AC Milan look the likely suitors, and Football Italia have leaked recently that Aubameyang has refused to sign a new contract. Now, AC Milan have already spent 150 million on transfers. That includes 35 million on Andre Silva, but is no doubt they would like their old striker back, especially when he's in the form of his life. Obviously won the Bundesliga's top goal scorer last season. Now he's still on the pre-season tour, old Pierre. So looks like he's just cracking on, and he scored 2 goals against Milan. So bit of a moot point that, you know, just padding out this very poor script. But as we said, China's market is open until January. Joe's lost his head, but will Borussia Dortmund lose their top goal scorer? Let us know in the comments below.
So that's all we've got time for on this episode. Winners and losers, just the 114 takes today, so a Premier League record.
Episode ever.
Yes, what should people do next? The Champions,
they should go and check out Stat Wars of Champions, me versus Rushton.
Give Rushton
who wins?
Some love.
It's the first game, second game coming up on Wednesday.
I'll tell you who wins. It's